CafeMochaRadio.com. A fresh blend of innovative perspectives.
For women on the go.
This is Café Mocha. I'm MC Light.
I'm Lonnie Love.
I'm Angelique. You know, we were taught that reading is fundamental, so why is it that so many kids can't do it?
You know what? That's a really good question. We have Steve Perry joining us today, and also we have the America's toughest principal is what they call him. His name is Marco Clark.
And believe it or not, Dr. Clark was barely able to read in high school, but he's going to tell us why. So this is going to be a good show.
That's right. Keep it locked right here. It's Café Mocha.
Hey, boy.
It's Café Mocha. I'm MC Light.
I'm Lonnie Love.
I'm Angelique on the line. Hi.
Hi.
On the line, we have...
It's Dr. Steve Perry. How y'all doing?
What up, Steve?
Chilling.
Excellent.
How y'all?
We're good. So, first thing I want to talk about is, you know, when we were coming up, reading is fundamental. What's going on in the school system now that our kids can't read?
Well, one of the things is that a lot of people struggle to be able to teach children to read. They don't understand how to teach children to read. And if you don't understand how to teach children to do it, then the children won't learn it. It's like a lot of times we hire Spanish teachers who speak Spanish, many of whom don't remember how they learned to speak Spanish, so they can't do a very good job of translating the teaching of that. Same thing with reading. Basic skills are not often taught, and our children really lose as a result. Every single skill is improved when you can read.
This is amazing that once upon a time, teachers knew how to teach. Now, what's the missing ingredient? Are they not being taught how to deliver the basics?
Absolutely. You really hit that one out of the park. What happens is they're often caught up in the theory of education, but the specifics of teaching are often lost. See, the truth is that teaching is a calling. It's something that you can either do or you cannot do. No one can teach you how to do it. I'm always amazed when I see people in education schools. I wonder, wow, they're going to teach you how to teach, but a true teacher can just teach. It's just honestly, it's like any other art. There are people, I'm sure this happens to you like all the time, but even with me, people give me demos, and I'm like, most people try to rhyme suck.
Yeah, huh? Like I always say, know your limitations. Know your limitations, right?
And know your position. Don't overstate what it is that you think you can do. And just because you have a degree in education, it doesn't mean that you can teach. And that's the truth. Simply because you could pass a test that says you can teach, it doesn't mean you can. And so we're at this time in America where there truly is a shortage of great teachers. And a great teacher can change your life. But a bad teacher can change your life too. And we don't often look at that. And a bad teacher is someone who simply does not have the capacity to take large concepts and make them small. I use the example of rap, not just to pander to you, but also to acknowledge that it is a high art form. Teaching is a high art. And it's easy for somebody with a pedestrian understanding of education to think, well, I want to be a teacher because, I took that first anatomy and physiology class when I was in college when I thought I was going to be a doctor, and I got stopped.
Right.
And so now I'm going to be a science teacher. But that's not how this thing works. It's not how circumstances unfold. Teachers have to understand that in order for them to be effective at what they do, they have to know what they're good at.
It's Café Mocha. More with Dr. Steve Perry when we return.
I love looking at you.
Café Mocha on the line. Dr. Steve Perry. We are talking about the education system, specifically why our kids can't read. And talking about teachers, I know here in California, they did this whole push to get teachers in. Hey, we'll pay for your education. Hey, we'll do this. Hey, we'll do that. Drafting people in who may not necessarily have been called to educate. But how do we get rid of these teachers who are turning out to be bad? Because that's become a big thing,
Well, that is the big thing. One of the biggest challenges that I face as a principal of a public school is getting rid of someone who simply is not cutting it. I sat down one day in my office with a teacher, and I said to her, one day you're probably going to be a great teacher. Here's the problem, though. I need a great teacher today.
Now.
And so this can end one of two ways. Either you tap out
Damn.
Or we part as I'm part of your future in a positive way, or we go the other way. But here's the thing that's important: it's gonna end. Because I promise every single one of these parents access to a world-class education, and we simply are not getting that from you.
Wow.
Why do you think teachers aren't paid? I don't think they're paid enough, but I think that has a lot to do with
Government
people
funding.
and things like that. Why is it that we can't pay our teachers more?
I don't know that I think it's often misunderstood that teachers don't make a lot of money, but if you're talking about a 21-year-old out of college, I mean, they make what 21-year-olds out of college you work 8 months make.
Right.
I mean, let's keep it 100.
But what happens to the teacher who's now 35 or, above 35 making that same amount? Like how?
They don't.
Okay.
They don't, and that's the fact. So here's the facts. In Hartford, Connecticut, for instance, where the average per capita income in Hartford is about $30,000 per person, the average teacher in Hartford makes $75,000.
Oh,
That's not a bad salary.
It's not just Hartford, though. The same is true in California. California, the average teacher makes over $75,000. That's in 8 months, y'all. That's real money. That's grown people money.
Yeah.
And if people say, well, we work all year. Yeah, but you're a teacher, homie. So if you're a teacher and you call yourself working during the summer, how do you work without kids?
Right.
I mean, otherwise, why show up? So it's often overplayed that teachers don't make a lot of money. Are they rich? Nah. I mean, but are any public servants rich? Well, yeah, a couple of them if you
really break it down. Right.
well, right. If you really do, if you coach basketball at a public college, a university, and you do well, like UConn, then you're rich.
Right.
But other than that, most of the people are not wealthy. And if you got into this because you were thinking you were get paid, I mean, somebody should have hollered at you and told you.
We've got more with Dr. Steve Perry coming up next on Café Mocha.
Talking to Dr. Steve Perry. Before we get into your new school, I want to ask you what parents can do if their kid is stuck with a quote-unquote bad teacher. How do you go about either moving the kid or getting the teacher out of the school, period?
One of the biggest challenges for me is trying to advise parents as to what to do when you have a teacher who is ineffective. You simply feel like, in many cases, many mothers struggle because they feel like, especially mothers of color, they feel like their sons are being maligned by the teachers. And in a lot of cases they are. I mean, it's true. They really are. But on the same token, though, when you have a verified circumstance where your child is not getting the education you believe, meaning that he is not getting homework regularly, and the homework is not meaningful, when you try to reach out to the teacher and it takes 3 weeks for the teacher to get back. Now, a day or two, come on, man. I mean, it's not your boyfriend or girlfriend. It's a teacher. They got other kids that they got to take care of. So getting back to you immediately is a bit much. But a day or two, you should be able to expect that your child's teacher should get back to you in a day or two. If they're not getting back to you regularly, and if the information that they're giving you is specious or at any level less than what you're looking for, then you have to first try to communicate with that teacher. If that doesn't work, meaning I will communicate via email, so that there's a tally of that. And also recognize that this is a professional setting. And as upset as you may be with this person, you can't just tee off on them. I mean, that's not fresh. Then after you've done that, then go to their boss, who's typically an assistant principal or department chair. Say, hey, I tried to contact Miss Smith. I emailed her 3 times over the course of the week. She's not gotten back to me. I'm not really sure what to do. Can you help me? Right? You come in from a help perspective. If that doesn't work, you go to the principal. If that doesn't work, you could go to the Board of Education, but the Board of Education cannot really do much about that particular teacher's non-compliance with you, believe it or not. They really can't do much. So this is where you as a parent have to decide, is this the school for me? Because if they won't get my child into another class, let's say in most elementary schools, they have 1 teacher per grade. So your kid's in the 3rd grade, the teacher works or doesn't. In some schools, they do what they call looping, meaning that you're with the teacher in the 3rd grade and in the 4th grade. So you have 2 years. So bad teachers, bad situation for that child's life. It really is bad. So you have to make the decision. Are you going to sit? Is this the hill upon which you wish to die? Because sometimes parents get caught up. It's like, I'll show her. Yeah, but in the meantime, your child is in a class in a school where they're not educating them. So let's say you win the battle, but you won't win the war. So this is when you got to consider consider the other options, maybe pulling your child out of school and going to another school.
Right.
All right, Dr. Steve Perry on the line. We have like 1 more minute. Can you tell us about the new school?
Yeah, so we're opening a school in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and then the next one's going to be in Harlem.
All right, there it is. Can people start applying yet?
They can. They can go to wearecapitalprep.org. That's wearecapitalprep.org.
Dr. Steve Perry, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
All right. God bless.
It's Café Mocha. We've been talking to Dr. Steve Perry about the education system. On the way, he's called America's toughest principal, but in high school, he was a functional illiterate.
Mm-hmm, that's what he said, not us.
Not Lonnie. She didn't say that.
Yeah, because I know y'all thinking I did it. Dr. Marco Clark.
Coming up on Café Mocha. It's Café Mocha. I'm MC Light, and on the line, they call him America's toughest principal, but as a boy, he could barely read himself.
Dr. Marco Clark is on the line. Dr. Clark, please tell us about your high school days.
And my high school days were kind of rough for me. I was labeled a functional illiterate at 11 years old, and I kind of took that label on long. So I lived out the label and decided that if I was going to be called that, then I might as well do some real street stuff and make the folks right who called me that. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I spent 5 years in high school, graduated from high school with a 1.6 grade average. What can I say? I was rejected to over 150 colleges and universities before landing an opportunity at Clark Atlanta University, where I kind of got my footing going and moving forward. What I recognized once I got to college is that I did have a deficiency, and that deficiency was reading. Mm-hmm. And so I had made it all the way to college and finally realized that I had an issue with reading after spending all that time in a K-12 system.
How is it that you were able to get all the way there?
Because we have a dysfunctional country, I would say, when it comes down to academic achievement and understanding why literacy is so important. There's 32 million Americans in this country that we call the United States that cannot read. And so when we look at this pipeline to prison, which is the direction that I was on, folks aren't really understanding that literacy will actually change crime rates. It will lower those crime rates and provide opportunity for people that are just like me and those who really didn't understand that they have challenges.
Now, you gave the statistic of 32 million who can't read. How many of those are young people? How many of those are
He said
black?
adults.
32 million adults, yeah.
Okay, but what about the kids?
You're talking about there's 19% of high school graduates that cannot read. You're looking at 87% of all African-American children in public school can't read. 85% Latino children can't read. So you're talking about high numbers of kids who are just spinning their wheels in public school systems. The challenge that I'm having is that we have politicians, we have educators, and we have other individuals who are proclaiming that they are for schools and that they believe in education, but they're not really reaching the root of the problem. In all urban communities, there's a plight of individuals doing things that are negative, and behind it all is the fact that these folks are illiterate.
It's Café Mocha. We're talking to Dr. Marco Clark, drmarcoclark.com, America's toughest principal. More coming up on the way.
What's being talked about on the street, online, and sister to sister? It's Did Y'all See? On Café Mocha.
Did y'all see that Sherry Shepherd was named the legal guardian of the surrogate baby that she and Lamar Sally decided to have together when they were still married? Now, Sherry has openly stated that she didn't, want the child. And now the judge has decided that child is indeed hers. And so she'll be paying child support to Lamar, which is probably what he wanted all along.
Paying child support for a child that does not share your DNA at all to a scamming dude like Lamar, my heart truly goes out to Sherry.
Well, that's our perspective. For more Did Y'all See, be sure to log on to MadameNoir.com.
That was Did Y'all See with the ladies of Madame Noir on Café Mocha. For more, check out CafeMochaRadio.com.
It's Café Mocha. We are on the line with Dr. Marco Clark, and these numbers, the statistics are staggering. I can't even believe when you said 87% of our students in school do not know how to read. I'm just unclear as to how they're getting a passing grade.
Thank you.
What we're doing is that we're teaching kids how to really, I call it sing along with readings. But when you go back and ask them, to tell you what they read, they can't tell you anything. And so we live in a country where you must explain things. And so if I'm a person that is able to recite words, but I can't explain what I've put down on paper or what you asked me, then how can I ever get a job? And
wait a minute, hold on. Okay, so now, I think I'm getting a deeper understanding. So it's not really that they can't read, it's that they can't understand what they're reading. They don't know what the words mean?
Exactly. So let me tell you, taking from my vantage point, at 10 years old, I was spelling bee champion. Wow. At 11 years old, I was told I was functional illiteracy. There's a disconnect in that piece. Wow. So with that, I was able to go through and read passages because I love words, and I could pronounce words and I could say them, but I couldn't tell you exactly what I read. So when it came down to passing state assessments, when it came down to passing the SAT, my scores were low because there were so many passages that I had to remember and comprehend exactly what I read in those passages, and I could not do that. And so we find a lot of our kids that are coming through public school, they have the same stripe. I see it every day in my school. I started the Richard Wright Public Charter School for Journalism and Media Arts in Washington, D.C., and what I'm seeing with kids is that they do well, but then when it comes down to state assessments, they do poor. They don't do well on the SAT because of the fact that they have issues with reading comprehension.
Dr. Marco Clark of the Richard Wright Public Charter High School. How do parents know? I mean, because this seems like it's very easy to pass under the radar. How can parents tell when it's time to get their kids help with regard to reading?
First of all, parents can't get caught up with the fact that you sit a kid with a book and have them recite words. And it starts from the beginning. Like reading starts from age 0, and once you begin to teach kids words, not just memorization, but understand the context from which the words come from, then kids will begin to build that contextualized building block for learning. The other thing is that learning how to use chunks of passages and being able to explain them in short areas. So you take 3 or 4 sentences and then ask a kid, what does that mean? Okay. Once they get a rhythm of being able to explain large passages of information in small chunks, then it will increase their comprehension level, will ultimately make them very literate and very great readers.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your story. How do people reach you?
They can reach me at drmarcoclark.com or 860-997-6802.
Wrapping things up with Dr. Marco Clark. He's having his Black Tie Gala June 13th featuring Tony. It's in D.C. Google Richard Wright Film Festival 2015 for more. On the way, the Light Mix. What a good feel. Time for the Café Mocha Espresso. I'm Angelique. Monique hits theaters this weekend in a film called Blackbird. She shares her thoughts on gay marriage.
I am totally for love and happiness. And you find that when people are in love and happy, they are great people. You find that when people are miserable and they can't love who they really want to love, it's a miserable existence.
Keke Palmer returns in an indie film called Brotherly Love.
Brotherly Love was definitely a movie that we all did because we felt it in our hearts from the moment that we read the script. And Queen Latifah doing it, I mean, she's been a part of my career since the time it started. Literally, the first thing I did was with her. So for her to always continue to be encouraging towards me and very much so a mentor, it means the world to me.
And she's been in Independence Day, Kill Bill. She is A-list. And Wendy's not the only one who's mad that Vivica Fox is joining Hollywood divas.
Vivica Fox, I love you, but I hate this idea. You are above this. It'd be like if Mary J. Blige joined the cast of R&B Divas.
That's the Espresso. I'm Angelique.
This is Café Mocha, radio from a woman's perspective.
It's Café Mocha, 3 distinct flavors, 1 experience. It is yours truly, DJ MC Light on the cool out. Here we go. Light Mix, Café Mocha. Keep it locked right here. About to take you down memory lane. Sing along, ladies. Let's go.
I don't want to rain on this pool.
It's Café Mocha. That was the MC Light mix.
Yes, y'all. And you don't stop. That was me. That was a great show. Very informative.
Very. And you know what? You had to know how to read in order to mix. So I'm happy you know how to read.
You know what? My mama wouldn't have it any other way. But I think the really important part of that is the comprehension. People are putting words together, absolutely. But are they understanding what they're reading?
Definitely. We learned a lot. So tune in next week.
We always got something that's good.
Café Mocha.
Café Mocha is a production of Miles Ahead Broadcasting in partnership with Westwood One. Executive producer Sheila Eldridge. Writer and producer Angelique Perrin. For comments, booking, and more information, visit cafemocharadio.com.